This is Channel 26 of JE News. I'm Ryan Villa, and breaking news today, we have word that Jane Eyre is getting married to Mr. Rochester. We have Miss Olivas on the scene.
Hi, this is Miss Olivas here on the scene. We're here to witness Mr. Rochester and Jane Eyre's marriage, so let's see what happens next.
We're gathered here to celebrate the marriage between Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester. Before we start, does anyone have any objections? I object. Mr. Rochester has a wife. I object also. Mr. Rochester's wife is my sister, Bertha. Yes, everyone, it's true. I have a wife, but she's not someone I can love or live with like a real partner.
Jane and Rochester's wedding was supposed to be a happy event, but it got completely stopped, turning a moment of joy into a scene of shock and tension. The atmosphere changed drastically. During the ceremony, when the priest asked if anyone objected, Mr. Briggs stepped forward and said the wedding couldn't happen because Rochester was already married. He pulled out legal documents to prove it, making it impossible to ignore. Rochester, with no way to deny the evidence, admitted it was true. He is now taking us to Thornfield Hall to see what happens next.
Welcome, everybody. This is Thornfield Hall. Please follow me up the staircases. Come on, guys, follow me. I'll show you where she is. Hello? Help! I'm being attacked! Help! 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 Help!
The very next day, Jane left Thornfield Hall completely distraught and heartbroken. She realized that Mr. Rochester had been hiding a massive part of his life from her, and everything she thought she knew was a lie. She was torn between her deep love for Mr. Rochester and her strong sense of right and wrong. She knew that staying with him would mean going against her own conscience. We hope that Jane will come out of this strong and look forward to the new chapter in her life. This is Angelina Olivas reporting for Channel 26 of JE News. Back to you, Ryan.
That's sad. Also, it's raining. Okay, anyways. The strict social rules of the Victorian era, especially about marriage and morality, made it impossible for her to be with a married man. She couldn't accept being his mistress, as it was considered really immoral. Even though it was incredibly painful and went against her deepest desires, Jane decided to leave. She knew that staying would mean losing her self-respect and losing her integrity. She understood that any future in Rochester was going to be built on lies and deception, and would it be real or truly happy? It would be a constant source of guilt and shame. Leaving Thornfield, which had become her home and the only place she felt any sense of belonging, was extremely hard for her. It meant leaving the man she loved and the only semblance of family she had. Jane made this incredibly difficult decision alone, showing her strong and independence of her reliance on her own moral compass. She had no one to turn for advice or support. This departure, through painful and heartbreaking, was the start of a new, uncertain chapter in her life, where she would have to be strong and completely rely on herself. She was now utterly alone and had to face the world without support. And now we have a new segment, everyone. We're going to be getting themes and quotes today, and I'm going to have two guests. They're going to ask me questions on it, and then I'm going to explain it to you guys. Okay? Yeah. Okay, everyone. Now this will be the themes now. We actually have two guests here today. First guest we have is Sebastian.
Good afternoon, sir. Today I have a few questions for you. All right, first question is about the quote on page 244. This quote says, "Gentlemen, my plan is broken up. What this lawyer and his client say is true. I have been married, and the woman to whom I was married lives." Can you tell me what happens in this quote?
Well, what happens in this quote is that the wedding ceremony is interrupted by Mr. Briggs. And remember, he's a lawyer. And Mr. Mason, who exposes Rochester's existing marriage to be his sister, Bertha. And also, Rochester admits the truth and is frenzied in outburst. And Also, Rochester confesses that he's already married, making his union with Jane impossible.
Wow. What are the themes or elements in this quote?
Well, the themes could be a gothic romantic, where from the mad woman in the attic could be birth and sudden revelation embodies a gothic horror, and a monstrous confined woman representing repressed secrets. And you can also use the haunted mansion, like Thornfield. It used to be a romantic setting where everyone used to be living in harmony, and now it transformed into a site of terror. I also have a question for you. How do you think you can connect this to yourself or to anything else, maybe?
I honestly feel like I can connect this to Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet were two kids and two kids of two warring families, and basically sort of fell in quote unquote love. And they can't. It's supposedly a forbidden love because their families were warring. They couldn't. It was a forbidden love.
Okay.
Okay, I have two more questions for you. First off, I have a quote about page 257. 250, sorry. I will keep the law given by God, sanctioned by man. Laws and principles are not for the times when there is no temptation. They are for such moments as this. I have a question about that. What happens in this quote? What is the context of it?
What happens is that Rochester pleads with Jane to stay as his mistress, arguing that love transcends moral laws, but Jane refuses, citing divine and societal principles. She upholds absolute morality and rejects Rochester and our personal ethics, so she doesn't want to be lied to no more.
Wow, I mean, what are the themes and elements of this quote?
Well, Jane can be have Puritanism because she reflects the puritanical values and self-denial and adherence to scripture. And we can give Rochester some libertinism because the ideological clash drives the novel's climax, with Jane's Puritanism triumphs, but Rochester's libertinism humanizes him as a complex anti-hero, which is actually interesting.
Very. Do you have any questions for me?
I would actually like to ask you, how do you think this can connect to you?
Oh, well, honestly, I feel like I can make a connection to priests. Priests, they have to take a vocation of celibacy, and they have to make sure that they don't fall into temptation as much as the laity do. And despite being... I know a lot of priests, despite being surrounded by so many temptations in this world, they're able to keep their morality, and they're able to make decisions that fit their ethics best.
Oh, okay.
One last question for you, sir.
Yeah.
This is a quote on page 250. It's really short, but it seems really powerful at the same time. Okay. Mr. Rochester, I will not be yours. This is something like nice, short and sweet, but I want you to tell me this. What is the context and what happens in this quote?
Well, what happens in this quote is that Jane definitively rejects Rochester's proposal to live together outside of marriage, and she refuses to compromise her ethics for love with him. And it's kind of really a turning point, being how, like, she just rejects him, like, straight up just rejects him. It's actually kind of cool.
What do you think are the elements in the theme of this quote?
Well, we can go religion and morality for sure, because Jane's choice is not just a religious, but an existential. She defines herself through moral integrity, and she has a reference to God's law too, to show us how faith structures her identity. While in contrast, Rochester's secular appeals. And I also have a question to ask you. How do you think this quote can connect to you?
So, I can connect this quote to a TV show I watched before called How I Met Your Mother. And I would like to connect this to two characters in the show, Robin and Ted. Now, Robin and Ted, Robin ends up rejecting Ted simply because they have different interests. Ted wants to get married, get settled, have kids, have a family. Robin wants something fun, casual, short-lived.
Okay.
And because of this, Robin decides to reject Ted because, well, they have different interests. He doesn't want to waste each other's time.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna be bringing our new guest in shortly, and just give it a round of applause for Sebastian. And we have a new guest, Noah.
Okay, so I have multiple questions for your different topics. On page 246 it says she is a mad woman kept in confinement at Thornfield for 10 years. So what is like the background of this quote? What is the context?
The background is like Rochester explains Bertha's background and confinement, and he also justifies hiding Bertha due to her mental state, and she's crazy.
What's a theme that you like take from this quote when you analyze this?
I take social class because Bertha's part of the upper class because she's married to Rochester. Therefore, it would be frowned upon society based on her mental state. And also, Jane is lower middle class, making her legally ineligible as a wife despite Rochester's protests. And Rochester's wealth allows him to hide Bertha because Jane's poverty limits her options. How would you connect this to your life or to anything else? Maybe?
Sometimes in life, we see Mr. Rochester hiding Bertha due to her madness because she's embarrassed, Sometimes in life we want to hide things from other people because it could embarrass us or put us in awkward positions. I do have one more question.
Okay.
On page 250 it says, I care for myself. The more solitary, the more friendliness, the more unsustained I am, the more I will respect myself. So what is the context behind this?
The context is Jane declares her independence while agonizing over leaving Rochester, and she also prioritized self-respect over romantic attachment.
Okay, so what's like a theme that you get from this?
A theme I can get could be gender relations, because I can get a feminist kind of thing from Jane when she's rejecting Rochester's partial control, and I think Bertha's wildness represents an unrestrained female passion, and Jane's restraint claims agency through reason. And I'm wondering, how do you think this quote can connect to you?
I mean, I don't think it connects to me, but a book I read, Harry Potter, when his girlfriend Ginny, she has to prioritize her exams because she's she gotta lock in.
Yeah.
So she's prioritizing that a little bit more than her relationship with Harry, so she can focus on her future rather than the romantic attachment she has currently.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. Well, tell Noah goodbye, and